Using VNAV on RNAV approaches is an excellent tool for making stabilized, constant angle descents to approach minimums. There are two different VNAV modes available for use on an RNAV approach: VPATH and VGP. VPATH is typically used for approaches to an MDA. VGP is generally used for approaches to a DA. However, it can be used on any RNAV approach. When using VPATH, the MDA for the approach is set in the altitude pre-selector, and the flight guidance will level off at the selected altitude. VGP mode is similar to glide slope mode on an ILS. The altitude pre-selector is ignored and flight guidance continues below minimums. For this example, we will be demonstrating VNAV on an RNAV approach to an MDA in the continuation of our flight from Teterboro to Gary, Indiana. ATC has assigned us the RNAV runway 20 approach via the Niles transition. So we'll load the approach. Once the approach is loaded, review and cross-check the waypoints and altitudes in the flight plan with the charted procedure. For an approach to LNAV minimums, we will use the NAV mode for lateral guidance and the VNAV mode to manage our altitude from our present position all the way to MDA. Once the approach clearance is received from ATC, arm VNAV and set MDA in the altitude pre-selector. Keep in mind that the altitude pre-selector can only be set in hundreds of feet. So in this example, we'll need to round up to the nearest 100-foot increment, which is 1,100 feet. Now that the altitude pre-selector is set to MDA, VNAV will automatically descend to comply with the altitudes on the approach. The active vertical mode will be VALT until VPATH is intercepted. Since there are no mandatory crossing altitudes for this approach, VNAV will maintain the present altitude until reaching the VNAV path. Once the aircraft captures the VNAV path, VPATH becomes the active vertical mode and VSELECT is armed. Just like flying an ILS glide slope, the aircraft will adjust pitch to remain on the path. Use the PCL to control airspeed. VNAV will automatically level off at the VNAV target altitude or the altitude set in the pre-selector, whichever is higher. As we approach MDA, it's important to remember that VNAV is set to capture MDA and the aircraft will begin a level off before reaching MDA. If the visual requirements for landing are met, disconnect the autopilot prior to leaving MDA and continue the landing. If no changes are made upon reaching the altitude set in the pre-selector, the aircraft will level off. Once MDA has been captured and VALT is displayed, the missed approach altitude can be set and the missed approach procedure flown. Once a missed approach is initiated, VNAV can be used for the missed approach segment. Push the VNAV button when appropriate, and the V-speed mode will be activated. The aircraft will comply with any published altitude requirements in the missed approach, just like it would during a SID. This has been a basic overview of using VNAV on an RNAV approach. Using VNAV for non-precision approaches reduces pilot workload, increases situational awareness, and allows for a stabilized, constant descent approach to minimums.